Welcome to class, all you pickleball champs. You are in 452 Advanced Doubles Game Film Analysis. Today we are going to be analyzing the PPA Finals Championship match between the Waters versus Johnson and Black. If this is your first time here, this course is designed for advanced players who want to get better and understand the game of pickleball at a much deeper level. If you are looking to improve your game, start playing tournaments, thinking of coaching yourself, or simply want to stop losing and not understand why, this course is for you. This course is in-depth. It is game film analysis where we slow things down, pick professional play apart, and understand the mistakes which are holding people back from winning. Therefore, if this is what you have been looking for to take your enjoyment of pickleball to the next level, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our future course videos. I'm your professor. Class is in session. There hasn't been any game talked about or more anticipated in recent memory than the Waters mother-daughter combo being back together on the court. And this is them making it to Championship Sunday at their first tournament back. So I felt compelled, and I thought there was a lot of opportunities where people are going to be able to learn from this unique situation. Specifically, Leigh Waters, Leigh Waters' mother, is probably someone who knows more about the game of pickleball and has been instrumental in helping her daughter become the best female pickleball player of all time. And so anything that I point out specifically tied to Miss Waters needs to be taken with the understanding that this is her first pro tournament back in almost over 2 years due to injury. And so there are going to be situations and unique things that are a part of Leigh Waters' game that isn't the standard part of her play because she's coming back from injury. So I just want everyone to take that as a caveat that we are going to get unique learning opportunities that when somebody isn't at their top form, which there are days when you're not playing at 100% and you still need to find ways to win, and that's exactly what happens in this match. Okay, with that, let's back this on up and dive into it. If this is your first time here, we watch every point all the way through so you can see it start to finish, and then we rewind and pick it apart. This is the first point of the match, and it goes to Black and Johnson. Okay, let's back that up and take a look at it. One of the really nice things about this first point here is you can see that right there, Black goes for the drive because she sees how slow Leigh is getting up to the net. So she decides to try and attack that. Now, she unfortunately floats this ball high, and Anna knows that her mom is coming back from injury. She's not as quick as she once was to get up there, and that's why we're looking at where's her starting position. Anna Leigh and her mother have already made the decision that she's going to be returning straight ahead in these balls. And you guys are going to see this point after point in this match, I guarantee it. Now, that could be one because they're attacking Black, but I think specifically in this situation, they are saying, hey, we'd rather take Black's forehand and allow Anna Leigh to come over more and help out. Right now, because of where this ball came from Leigh, that the angle over here, if she tried to hit the ball sorry, that line is not very good. I'm going to try and get a line from, let's move a couple frames forward, and we're going to get it right at contact. Okay, here's contact. So I'm going to try and draw a yellow line from the ball and see if this pins, let's see if it straightens out for me. Sometimes these lines, there we go, straightened out for me. Okay, so for her to go anywhere onto this side of this line, it would have to be a slower drop shot because if it's hit hard, it's not going to get back down and in the court if she hits it hard. And so that's exactly what Anna Leigh knows and Miss Waters knows, and that's why that's allowing Anna to get bigger and look at her feet. If we were on a different camera angle, you would see her body is basically in the middle of the middle line. Right here. She's splitting it. She's giving all this, hey, if you're going to hit a drop shot, fine, I'll get back over there. But I need to help out and be more ready to poach, to be aggressive. And that is a strategy that you can immediately implement if you have a partner who is not as quick getting to the kitchen line for any reason, whether just ability, skill set, or age, whatever that is. Okay, so then Anna hits a great forehand and another one, and they are in a plus. Anna Leigh Waters and her mother are in a +2 position. What is a +2 position? So the way we look at this is offense and defense. Obviously pretty easy to see. Like, we believe these guys are on offense, and Johnson and Black are way back here behind the baseline. They're on defense. And so offense, defense is normally talked about in court position. And so there is, Anna is up at the net, so we give a +1 to this team. And Leigh Waters is up in the net, so we give a +1 here. Wow, and I literally wrote 2. Thinking not what I'm saying, and so that equals 2. And so that's why we give a +2, and when I reference that is because if, and we'll get into this, if let's say Black had made it up here, say Black was right here, that would be a +1, or you can even say, and that would minus against the other team, and then they would only have a +1 advantage. But at a +2 advantage, obviously the Waters want to be attacking, keeping them back, and trying to put this ball away. Which the reason I bring that up is this exact next shot. This ball is not that low, and Leigh Waters really goes neutral tentative on this. That's very soft putback, where she could have gotten this ball further out from her and been more aggressive with that shot. So then they do a drive, and they go, okay, well, we're going to keep going at her if she's going to be that soft. And this volley, she breaks her wrist right there and really puts a soft ball back again. So we've gotten where you're in a +2 advantage, and she's basically hit a neutral ball, one, and then a second neutral volley. And that allows Johnson to hit this great drop shot, which pushes Anna Leigh Waters off the line. So this was a great idea. This is where we talk about, hey, if you want to be able to take space and get up to the kitchen line, you're going to be able to move hitting these drops. Here's the one thing that most people at, let's say, a 4-5 level and below really struggle with is watch Black right here. She does a phenomenal. I'm just going to leave that circle around her for a second. And the ball, she realizes she's not hitting the ball. Look at her body move. She's already taken a step. She's taking a step forward. The ball hasn't even been hit because she realizes I'm not going to hit it. And she sees her teammate getting into a position to hit a drop, not a drive. And so she takes ground. And look at that. She just got all the way to the kitchen line, never having to hit the ball, and they did it all in one move. And that is because she sees that she's not hitting the ball and therefore starts to move forward. The one thing that she does here is she right here, she kind of slows down. I know we're playing this frame by frame, but she kind of slows down right here, sees that it's a good drop, and then accelerates and it does a split step. And so she wasn't just rushing and running up to uncontrolled to the net. She comes in, sees the ball go over good, and then takes that extra and then gets ready. And the one other thing I want to point out here, a lot of people with this shot would reach. I know it's tough with Anna Leigh Waters. She put her body in the right position, but they would keep their 1 foot here, 1 foot here, and they would just lean out and take this as like a backhand volley really low and have a very defensive shot and trying to keep it low. And that's a big separation from, 3-5, 4-0, 4-5 players and the pros. Is what does Anna Leigh Waters do? As soon as she sees that she's not going to volley this ball, she moves that foot back. I mean, look how fast this footwork is. She just throws that left foot back. She knows she's got to get back to try and keep this ball as much as possible in front of her. And she does. This is a great shot to be able to keep it this low off the bounce. That is a very tough shot. But that is only able to be done because of her footwork with this left leg. And so, as we've talked about in other videos, I'm just going to put this right here. Let's say those are the feet, and let's say Leigh Waters arms out, her paddles out here. As soon as she sees that she's not going to catch that ball and it's not going to be a green or yellow ball, and we'll go over that like we always do of what is a green or yellow ball. As soon as she realizes that, she immediately swings that foot back and gets ready to let it bounce and then keep fighting. So right here, Johnson sees that they're basically in a neutral situation. We've got a +1 here. We got a +1 on this side. Leigh Waters is off. Johnson is off. And so at that point, the 1 equals the 1, and we are neutral. Or you can just say we're at a 1 minus 1, any way you want to view it. And that gives Johnson the kind of the green light to attack here, even though she's not quite at the kitchen line. Goes into the middle, and I believe that the Waters paddles actually bump here, and that's what has the ball go low. I really think that that's just a miscommunication. Leigh Waters obviously, getting back to playing with her mom and trying to be ultra aggressive. Okay, that was a phenomenal first point. We got to learn a lot from that. Let's take a look at the next one. Just a phenomenal shot by Black there. Beautiful backhand. Okay, so as we talked about before, they returned the ball to Black on the first point. Now they're returning the ball to Black again. And so there's obviously been a decision between the Waters of, hey, who do we want to attack? Who do we want to keep back? And so they've decided that they want to keep Black back, or they don't think Black's drops or drives are as good as Johnson. Normally when the player who is playing who's playing on the left, they have the stronger forehand or more power. But you can see that there are times where even if they have the more powerful forehand, you would choose to try and keep them back, and that strategy may hold up here or might change throughout this specific first match, but that's how they started out. The one thing I wanted to really point out on this quick point is, let's take a look at Anna's footwork here. This is what we're going to be looking at right there. On this serve, the ball comes, Anna takes 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, 4 step at impacting this ball. She's already moved that far up and moved into it and drive so that her body weight is moving through the ball and towards the kitchen line. And that's even on a backhand. Some people have said, like, try and not hit backhand returns, like run around to your forehand. It is so much more important, and Annalise just shows this in what she actually does. It's so much more important to be moving forward and get to the kitchen line than anything you're going to do on the return. It is more important to get to the kitchen line than even having a deep return. Now, by moving your body through the ball, you will most likely have a deeper return, which she does, which is fantastic. But as you can see right here, the ball lands there. That's the bounce where they have to let it bounce. Leigh Waters is already past the midway point of getting to the kitchen line. And here we'll go at impact. She's right about to split step, and she's ready with the ball coming to be able to do whatever she wants to do with this ball. The other thing I'm going to say right here is, with this return, watch where Leigh Waters runs. Leigh Waters doesn't hit the ball and just run up here and get disconnected. She is hitting and improving, aka following the ball. She is hitting and she's coming over here because that is where she hit the ball to that side of the court. So she's coming up here, and watch where she split steps. Her right foot is very close to the middle line. Okay, all this space over here is once again open of saying, hey, you want to hit a drop over here, fine, but I am cutting off the angle like a soccer goalie, and me and my mother are creating a wall over here if you choose to drive it. So she hits I think black was trying to hit a drip here that once again kind of floats. And Leigh Waters hits a great two-handed volley, very tough, but gives the open angle. And I'm very surprised by Leigh Waters letting this go. Once again, like we talked about, this is her first tournament back, and so these things are going to happen. She's still playing at a very high level, and so I don't know if she anticipated her daughter getting all the way back over there. That's highly unlikely. I don't know if she just lost spatial on the court and thought she was going to ATP this ball, even though it was so far back. So Leigh may have been guarding for the ATP and then says, hey, I got fooled. But once again, a great point by Johnson and Black, very quick. Feeling good, up to 2-0. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Try and speed it up here. Okay, that's a good point. Let's take a look back again. Okay, so once again, third time returning to black. Leigh Waters' foot all the way on the other side of this line. Sees the drive coming. She is trying to help out her partner as much as possible, get up to it. Black is definitely now realizing we are going to attack Leigh Waters. She does one, goes back across, and then this does, in my opinion, that hits the net. Right there, you can see it skip. And that's why. So Leigh's paddle, I believe, was in the right place if this hadn't hit the net. But it does bring up one interesting fact, and it's almost impossible in these milliseconds to do it truly, but we talk about this a lot. A lot of times, why put your paddle too far below the net? If it's going to hit the net, it's in the net. Then you don't have to worry about it. So there is a point where you don't really want to lower your paddle below if you're just blocking volleys. If you're trying to come up and put a lot of spin, or you're going to, hit an attack shot, fine. But in this situation, that's just something to point out. But once again, it hits the net, and she still gets it back over. Very much hits almost the handle of her paddle. She's barely able to get it back over, but does, and then gets a pop-up and attacks the ball. And so this is the one thing where in women's pickleball, Leigh Waters is still at a very, very high level. When she gets an attackable ball, she is reaching out and full pace attacking that. That's one of the things she has taught her daughter, of when you get that green light ball, to go for it. This ball is actually just the beginning of a yellow ball, so let's talk about this. I'm going to leave it right there. So people go, what is a green light ball? Lots of coaches out there reference that. What an actual green light ball is, it's your shoulder height and above this way. So all this space up here, anything you're hitting up here, and that is a green light ball, and it's because you can hit directly downward on the ball, and it will go over the net in a downward trajectory. A yellow light ball is from your shoulder to your knee and everything in here. In those situations, you do need to hit the ball at least slightly. It has to come up to come back down. Now, obviously, a lot of those balls, to do that, you're hitting with topspin, but you can't hit them as hard as a green light ball because you do have to get it to come back down into the court. And a red light ball is the knee to the ground or the foot, and it's everything in here. Those are shots where you definitely want to be looking at defensive and neutral. Those are not balls you want to attack, and we will go over that. So as you see here, because of the beautiful stroke by Leigh Waters, and she goes low to high, putting this top spin on the ball, she raises the ball back over, just over the net, and it's coming back down, impacts, and gets Black caught moving her feet where she should have been. She never really gets set. She knows she hit this ball. She knows that it's a little bit of a pop-up. Not a lot, but a little. And so she tries to get her feet set, then moves them again, and that's kind of the death right there. the one big thing, and you will see this as we go through this game film, when you're able to watch game film frame by frame, when people are moving their feet, they can't move their paddle. You can kind of only do one or the other. And so when you're not set, even if you're in a bad position not set, it's better to just stay set and focus on catching that ball with your paddle than trying to constantly improve the feet and adjust. So if she had stayed here, I'm not saying she's balanced, but she probably could have gotten this ball back. But she does the jump. The jump, as you see, she goes backhand first, then she's over to the forehand and late, and that is because of the jump back of that balance. But good job by Leigh Waters on that attack, and it is now the Waters' turn to serve. Okay, this is going to get shown because of the collision quite a few times, so I'm probably going to be moving past this point pretty quickly because the camera doesn't do a great job of showing what actually occurs here. I'm just going to... So we don't get to see... Oh, she volleys this out of the air. So yeah, so she volleys it out of the air. It goes in, but she hits her partner in the head, and they just immediately stop the point and give the point to the other team because she hit her partner in the head face. So Leigh Waters, very smart, once again, not saying that she knew to stop or whatnot, but knew to get the ball back over so they at least won the point. So there may be a short medical timeout. I'm going to speed up through that point and all of this, and we will... Here we go. Now we are back. Okay, so first thing to notice on this, Leigh Waters and her mother are not stacking. They're playing straight up. Very uncommon at the pro level. But one thing is, Leigh does love her backhand, and so they've chosen to do this. That does not mean they're going to do it through the entire match. So Black makes the decision to return the ball to Leigh Waters. Leigh drives it. And that gets a pop-up, and Anna just attacks, and the point is very quickly over from that. So let's just take a look here for a couple things. At the drive point, Anna Leigh is watching her mother. Her mother drives the ball. Okay? Two things here. We want to watch, once again, we're looking at Anna Leigh right here, and we are going to watch when she starts to move forward. Watch her feet frame by frame. She realizes there that she's not going to get this ball. The ball has not crossed the net. It's just about to cross the net. If it's hard for you to see, the ball's right there. And that is when Anna Leigh's feet start to move forward. So she is already 1, 2. She's at basically zone 2 when the ball is starting to go back the other direction. She sees this a drive, and she gets... and stop. So she's not quite up, obviously, to the kitchen line. She was a little bit behind that. But because it's a drive, she is making sure that she's past zone 2. For those of you who are new here, real quick, zone 1 is basically is the baseline. Zone 2, in tennis, people call it the no-man's zone. There is no no-man's zone in pickleball, but that's why we call it zone 2. It's right in the middle of it. And then zone 3 is the kitchen line. And so when you're driving the ball, your partner is driving the ball, and you're moving up to take free ground when the ball's on your side traveling back at them, or when you're not having to hit the ball so you can take that ground. The big thing is you want to get just at least past zone 2 when you drive, so maybe you can get a shake and bake, which is exactly what occurs here. In this situation, the reason you want to be past it and not stop at zone 2 during a drive is because you're trying to get your feet to be less exposed, and you're trying to be closer to be able to take a pop-up. If, I'm going to go forward a couple frames, This ball's right here. So you see Anna-Leigh is impacting the ball approximately 2 to 3 feet off the kitchen line. If she had stayed back here, the ball would be significantly lower and she couldn't hit it as hard, and she'd have to get it back down once crossing the net, where she is hitting straight down on the ball there and sets herself up. So this is a classic shake and bake, and a shake and bake only works and you only get the benefit of drive if your partner is moving forward appropriately. If your partner stays back on your drive, you're going to have a really long day and you're just not going to get any benefit from trying to hit third shot drives. Okay, great point. Match is all tied up rather quickly, and let's move on back to the next point. Okay, another quick point. Let's take a look here. Clearly lands, and I'm just trying to see. Yep, it kissed the net. That's what caught Black off guard, and that's how it got over her. So a little bit of luck for Leigh Waters. She was obviously attacking this ball because it hits so soft and neutral, and sometimes you just get a little lucky. Couple things to point out. Leigh Waters' serve, nice and deep, and then they tried returning to Anna this time. And the real thing that I have a tough time here, and so I'm just pointing this out. Obviously, Leigh and Anna Waters combo have played a lot of matches together and spent a lot of time being family together. And we point out where Anna-Leigh's foot is. So now we're going to take a look at how far over does Black get to help her teammate. The ball goes into what is the C quadrant, which we will point out and show you guys some graphics later. But if you've watched other videos, you know that that is the C. And Black basically sits normal middle of the pack. She doesn't move over and cut much angle off here, squeezing down this driving lane is basically this big that now poor Johnson has to cover while she's running up. The other thing that I'll point out that we showed earlier, this is at point of contact for Anna-Leigh, and Johnson isn't even to half court yet. And so let's back this up. She doesn't even have to run around this ball. But as you can see, she takes a step, one forward, one back, swings, and then starts running. And by doing that, you are late instead of having like where we showed with Anna-Leigh Waters, where she took 4 steps all moving forward into the ball and makes impact. This is hit, kind of reset and run, and that's where she's impacting the ball a full 3 to 6 feet off the kitchen line. And luckily gets it back over. Hits and skips it off the net, but got it back over, but barely. Okay, that's a good point. A lot of learning opportunity there. Let's keep moving. Okay, man, this net is playing a big role, getting a lot of attention for all the net balls occurring. So let's slow this up. So let's just do this. There is the impact by Leigh Waters, and I just want to point it out because we just showed us. Look how far up at the time of impact Black is, much further forward. And so in case you missed it, I'm just going to back up a couple frames. Here we go. This ball, the serve was obviously shorter, but 1, 2, her full body weight is moving forward in that backhand, which is what allows her to get up all the way to the kitchen so early and be ready. Now, these are the shots that every pro, one, shouldn't do, and every amateur does too much. And the horrible old adage that was out there was like, take the ball out of the air, stay at the kitchen line, take the ball out of the air, is we want to, and so we got to have more context. Green light ball, we want to take those out of the air. We want to be aggressive. We want to play tall. Yellow balls, we also potentially want to take those out of the air. We want to be stretched out. We want to be out like this. But once that ball gets below that and gets to this knee height level, which that's the problem is, we're going to move one frame forward. That ball is now right at her knee, maybe slightly below at impact. And that's what causes these very defensive pop-ups. And so let's count this out again. I'm just going to leave it right there. At this point of her contacting the ball, Black's at the kitchen line, she's a +1. Johnson already got a start at the kitchen line, so she's a +1. They are at a +2 because Annalie's not at the kitchen line and Leigh Waters is all the way back. And so anytime you're in this situation, you're in an offense, you would want to be hitting an offensive shot. Well, how do you hit an offensive shot when the ball is now in the red zone? As soon as you cannot take this ball as a yellow ball at worst or a green ball, so I'm just showing the area that we're talking about. If I can't volley it and hit it there, we want to take our leg of whichever side we're going to be hitting the ball on, and we want to swing that leg back like a door as quickly as possible. For example, the first point we watched in this match when Leigh Waters just throws that leg back to get back behind the ball. If Black had moved her leg back, the ball is able to bounce. By a ball traveling further in the air, especially in pickleball because it has holes in it, it slows down. 2, when it hits the ground, it gives energy to the ground to bounce back up. So we are now hitting a ball that is moving slower and has less spin. So we are naturally getting an easier ball to hit. Okay. With that, she would be able to still take a forehand, have time to see, hey, where is everybody? Is somebody still not ready? Have they not set their feet? And she'd be able to hit an aggressive, probably ball from right here, attacking ball with top spin, keeping it low over the net and making them work for everything getting up to the kitchen line, not inviting them up. When she hits this ball, all she does is A, invite them up, and look how high that ball bounces. Annalie's attacking that, okay? And this is an aggressive move by Leigh Waters, but you got to believe if you're playing against good people, they're looking for opportunities to attack, and she sees this ball that's going, and she knows it's going to bounce high because of the trajectory. She preloads on that. She's firing. So Johnson does a good job of dealing with this. I don't know if that ball would have sailed long or not, but Johnson didn't have a lot of time to choose. And so here we go into the firefight. And Johnson and Black get lucky this time with the ball tipping and getting over. They've had a couple unlucky ones earlier, so one goes back their way. But all of that, where they Johnson and Black almost lost the point, this is the big error that they just got lucky with a net ball to get to skate away with it. Okay, let's watch the next one. This is Leigh Waters' serve. Okay. That's a good point. The one thing I want to point out here is this is some of the learning opportunities that we are getting because of this match and because it's Leigh Waters' return to pro pickleball. Okay, so she does this classic technique, which a lot of people that when we talk to them and we're explaining what a drop is, she does it textbook perfect. A drop is not a swing. She does not load. She keeps the paddle approximately even or in front of her front leg knee, which is the opposite, and she's right-handed, so she has her right foot back so she can push off of it and apply energy and force through her legs to hit this ball. And all she's doing with the paddle is she is going to keep that wrist strong and compressed and have an upward movement on it to get a little extra top spin to make it a little bit more difficult on her opponent. And so look at this. See how she goes down with the paddle, not back. And it's just beautiful technique. And then all she's doing is coming up. She's putting the spin of that on the ball. Okay, and that one is a nice drop. And once again, you're putting Johnson is leaning down and taking a red light ball and hitting a neutral defensive shot back. If you do that, it may work out sometimes. So once again, +1. They're in a +2 scenario here. Both of them are back, and they're hitting a defensive shot. We want to hit, depending upon your position, you want to hit that type of position or one deviation away from it. Okay, so let's just go over that so everyone's very clear on that. So we have offensive, right? Wow, what am I doing here? We have offensive, we have neutral, and then we have defensive. Okay, those are kind of the three positions. So if you are in an offensive position, and you want to hit either this or this at worst. We do not want to hit defensive balls. If you're in neutral, you can go one deviation either direction, and it's normally okay, depending upon, and we'll get into some more specifics to that. If you are in neutral and all you're doing is hitting defense after defense after defensive position, then you're most likely going to eventually lose the point. If you're in defensive, the most attacking you want to be is neutral. You want to hit a defensive or neutral ball. The error where people get into is when we do this jump. You're in a defensive shot and you try and hit this crazy, aggressive drive, and you're trying to jump. You're trying to go through defense, neutral, and jump all the way to offense. Or in the other side, we're in offensive, like Black and Johnson are right now, and you keep hitting defensive shots, which then you're losing points and you don't understand why that's happening. So let's go through this. So Johnson hits this very defensive ball, literally invites Leigh Waters up. She hits another fifth shot drop, keeps it kind of low, and I really like this attack. And this angle is horrible for you guys to be able to see it, but we're going to do it frame by frame. Black sees it coming, and watch her paddle here. Here's where most people below 4-5 make the mistake. Her paddle is here, and she's going to load. What does the load look like? She drops it down, and she turns the forearm over right here. That part of her forearm is now facing straight up, and if she had a watch on, you'd be able to see the time of day. And then she releases that load energy through her arm by turning it over, and that's where all that extra power comes from. So you see how fast that ball comes with almost no paddle movement, and that's because the paddle is moving in a clockwise motion this way to hit the ball and put that spin and trajectory on it, and she keeps that wrist almost compressed through the whole thing and then releases it right there at the end. Gets the body back, making Leigh Waters work her way up. And look at that. Forced a pop-up, and now they are back on the defensive and win that point, making them earn their way up. Here's the thing. I'm just going to show this again, is they were in an offensive position, hit a neutral defensive shot, and things are going against them right here. They're still in, right there at point of impact. The Waters are back. They still have a +2. And Black chooses to hit an offensive shot, and because of that, wins the point. And so that's the big thing to take away from this point specifically, is that lesson of seeing what's the difference when the position of the +2 never changed, and they got back on the horse of hitting the correct shots during the correct time. You're always going to be taking, just a last side note on this, I'll back it up. You're always taking risk, right? And so you're choosing when to take a risk. And so right here, is this a little bit more of a risky shot? Yeah, you're taking an offensive shot on a tough ball, but you're taking a calculated risk because you're in an offensive position. So what's the bad parts that can occur? You could hit in the net. yeah, you can always miss a ball. That can happen. People miss hit on their things, or your technique's bad, or that can occur. But the rest of it is the ball's most not going to sail along, most likely, because black, or when you're playing, you have all the way to this back corner, but you'd rather do that because even if black's ball could have sailed long, which I'm not saying this one would have, Leigh Waters may have hit an out ball anyway because of her position. She's putting it right back at her body. So your odds of success on hitting an offensive attack on this ball is what you should do. One, because of your position. Two, because of the height of the ball. And we see too many times where people are in this same position and they once again hit a very neutral or defensive shot. Those people don't get to make it normally to championship Sunday. So we're seeing very high level pickleball right now, which you guys can learn from. Okay, ball's back in Johnson's hands for their serve. And there was the error. Okay, let's back it on up. Okay, so once again, we're back for the first time since the start of the game with Johnson and Black serving. 100% of all returns have gone to Black. Black drives the ball rather high once again, and Leigh Waters gets to hit down on the ball. She hits down on the ball again, and then Leigh Waters gets to hit down on the ball and tries to change angle and just is late. Very uncharacteristic error from Leigh Waters. Once again, her first tournament back. Those things are going to happen. No big deal. Shrug it off. Game is tied. I'm going to back up just so you guys can see this technique because I don't think we're going to get to see a lot of these. So, beautiful technique by Leigh Waters right there on the backhand. On this one, the standard come across, as you can see, Leigh Waters' paddle is never pointing at the net pre-impact of ball. So we're just going to go frame by frame so you can see it. See how her wrist stays compressed and back right here. I know that might be hard for you guys to see, but you'll see it as the wrist almost lags back. She holds that wrist compressed to get a strong hit on the ball and then releases long after the ball is crossed over. And that is the technique we want to use. And so this same thing happens. Her wrist is lagging back because she's doing this very upward and down movement. And that's where things can get in trouble for everybody because the paddle face, I'm just going to show this here, when that occurs, when your arm is going in this motion, the paddle face is facing here, facing here, facing here, facing here, okay? Hopefully that can be understood from those markings. And so we have this small window of only a couple milliseconds of when it is in the court and correct and timing of when the ball gets to you. And so if we move that to a more horizontal plane, like she hit on the first one, the paddle face is, way over here, it would be the start of the in, and the in lasts a longer period of time, and that therefore decreases errors. If we get a better camera angle, I will show you on another point, but I don't anticipate Leigh Waters missing very many overheads throughout this match. Okay, let's move on to the next one. There we go. Another great learning opportunity. Okay, we're going to slow this down. So, Leigh Waters, literally the oldest player on the court by a minimum. She has a minimum of 20 years on every other player. And she still, this is a point of impact. She is 3 feet off the kitchen line and set. She's anticipating a drive, so she's kind of pre-slowing down. If she wasn't anticipating a drive, she'd easily get all the way up there. And so I just have to point out, this is even with her doing a cut slice backhand, which some people do, and they don't move up to the net quickly because they're swinging hard at it. But let's once again count the steps. We're looking right here of why this works. She's starting way back off the line. 1, 2, 3 coming through it. She takes that extra micro step to really push off that leg and accelerate. She's taken 3 whole feet right there just on the stride out from the ball. And then long before that, she's way past half court by the time the ball bounced, and she's right up by the kitchen line ready for that volley, and makes it look effortlessly easy, even when her opponent's trying to hit a hard drive at her. So that's one of the things, that it's not an issue with age, it's an issue of technique, of getting up to the kitchen line. Okay, let's keep watching here. The one thing that I hate that she actually missed this, but more errors are going to occur when you're coming back from an injury and being 2 years off. Watch this beautiful decision right here. She hits this ball, gets reset. Right here, she realizes that this ball is going to be too low. Look at her body get lower, and she swings that leg back. She just swings that leg back like a door and then hits that dink. Now, she was trying to keep it real low and made a little bit of an error there, but still the big difference is what she didn't do was just reach down and try and do one of those low volleys that we have previously talked about. And so, once again, like mother, like daughter, both of them have phenomenal technique of realizing that she can hit a much more, this is a defensive stance. Her body weight is back. She's having to go to a defensive stance on this ball, and she's still hitting a neutral dink, and it just caught the net, hit it a little bit too low, but everything else on that was great, instead of sitting here and just hitting a low, most likely pop-up volley that the other team would have attacked. So, great point there. Let's continue on to the next point. Well, the Waters make quick work of that point. Let's back this on up. So once again, they are just attacking Black, and she's just still just playing into their game of going to drive every third, and the Waters feel that their volleys are good enough to deal with her drives. And it's tough to say if this is technically a drive. The reason I'm going to call it a drive, and we're going to just pinpoint it here so you guys can see this. Watch Black's backswing. She loads the paddle. And what we talk about a lot of times is, and all of you who play pickleball, when the ball is here and your paddle's way back here, everybody that we deal with and we coach and you see play, they 99.9% of the time, their paddle's back there, they make contact with the ball, okay? This is not that you don't have that skill set. Everybody who plays pickleball, more often than not, makes contact with the ball. And so once you've loaded your paddle back here, you have now one tool in your toolbox. It is a hammer. You have to accelerate the paddle to get contact with the ball because you have taken the paddle back further away from the ball. So as you can see right here, and you can even see a little blur motion right there. See right there how the paddle starts to blur? That is because it is accelerating. When she takes it back, it's nice, smooth, clear, crisp image, and then you see the motion blur right there. That means Black is accelerating the paddle through here. You're not accelerating the paddle through if you're hitting a drop shot, and so that's why I'm going to also count this as a drive. And so we've hit a third shot drive, a fifth shot drive. Now, just for her to get her paddle to the ball, she hits a 7-shot drive and essentially tries to do a backspin cut shot. Once again, also technically a drive because, as you see, once again, she accelerates the paddle through the ball right there and doesn't get it back. And so that is a very, very, very tough way to play and win. Here's the one thing we're going to point out. One, in the game of pickleball, a big change in the last several years as paddles have gotten hotter and faster, it is how to handle a 3rd-shot drive. And so the ball's making contact here. Leigh Waters is already slowing down, getting set, can see that it's going to be getting sped up. So she's getting ready early. Gave up on trying to get to the kitchen line, right? Because it's more important to be ready. And what she's doing is she's countering this ball. Look how far back her paddle is here. She is going to attack this drive, counterattack, and put force and motion on the ball. Now, this is a very high-level technique. If you're a 3-0, 3-5, and you start trying to do this without practicing, you will just miss the ball or hit it off the frame a lot. This is something you have to work on and drill. But this is where, when dealing with somebody who's hitting drives, you don't want to continuously passively give them what they want, which is short, invite-up balls in this range or hitting a pop-up. If they're going to bring power, you also want to bring power. And like we've talked about in other points, once again, the Waters are in a +2 advantage. What in this situation is an offensive shot going this way is exactly what Leigh Waters does here. You're always sometimes taking a risk. You're trying to take calculated risk in pickleball, and she takes the calculated risk of hitting an offensive shot from an offensive position. Both people are back, so she can put the ball hard basically anywhere she wants without any fear of repercussion or getting caught off guard, and that's what's allowing her to do this. The biggest thing that's occurring here is Johnson is staying back when her partner is doing all this driving. If you know your partner is just going to be trying to light it up, so here we go, we're going to get back to the 3rd. I see my partner wind up like this. You can see Johnson looking at it. Knows she's not hitting that ball, and she starts to move forward and sees the counter and stops pretty quick. What would be better, and I believe they start to do this here pretty soon, is Johnson's going to notice, oh, I'm not hitting that ball. You can already see she knows at this point she's not hitting this ball. She should be taking ground this way and trying to get to approximately here at the point of impact with her teammate. And then if it's a decent drive, try and take another approximately 3 feet. That would put pressure on either of the Waters, but especially Leigh Waters' backhand. She could then come across, catch it, volley it back, speed it back up, do something to disrupt the very big advantage and easy work that the Waters are doing and picking on Black, her teammate. Okay, let's move on to the next point. It's now Black's turn to serve. I'm just getting to the serve. They brought the camera over kind of late, and so let's watch this one all the way through. Oh, beautiful point. So much good being done there by the Waters. So let's talk this through. So here's a big thing, and we talk about this all the time. If the person who hit the 3rd shot drop is beating you forward, there is something wrong. Okay, so let's just watch this, and I'm going to put some lines on the court. We can easily see that Black is in front of her after the point of impact. They're almost even at the point of impact, but she's making and taking her out. The camera moves on us here, so that's not going to be very helpful. And then Black split steps and stops. And once again, Johnson's behind her again. Black hits it again. Comes over. Hits it again. They're staying back. Well off this kitchen line. And then just gives up all of the potentially getting there. So what I really want to, this is what is hard, is Johnson's not helping her teammate out. We have to be a good teammate. If we're going to play doubles, we have to be a good teammate, and we have to be the person. If we're not hitting the ball, what can we do? The rule is hit and improve. That also means if you're not the one hitting it, your team is hitting the ball. So you have to hit and improve, and you need to put pressure on the other team and make yourself a force on the court. Right now, they are basically being like, cool, Johnson, you're not even here. We're beating Black over and over again. Cool, you just stay back there and stay out of our way. And so, especially with this many balls, she takes the fifth. 100% Johnson should be here by now on the fifth. And then she should be encroaching to put pressure of like, you guys better not pop it up. Like right there, this is a good example. Look how far back that ball bounces. Leigh Waters hit that with no concern, because if Johnson was here, Johnson could have fired that ball because it was so high. So let's see if this camera moves on us again. Like right there, I know Johnson's tall enough and has long enough arms to take that ball right there out of the air if she was at the kitchen and attack it. Now, I'm not saying it's super high, but it definitely kind of clips off the net right there, and she could have done that. Then sitting back here on the defensive and not playing the game. This is essentially, that dink is a little bit higher and carries a little bit more than Leigh Waters did, but not a lot. You didn't really see it. I mean, Leigh Waters is hitting that basically at net height and having to raise it back up, and it's not an instant winner, but it sets up everything else that occurs there. And I truly believe, especially this point, really highlights out, do not get disengaged. You have to be helping your teammate. You have to be moving, and you have to be putting pressure on your opponent when your partner is hitting the shots. Hopefully this point especially really shows what happens when that breaks down. The one thing I will say is, if I was analyzing anything at this point where we've done in the past where it's like, okay, where's the error? What starts this coming off is Johnson's body posture and footwork and court position right here when this ball comes over, which allows Leigh Waters to hit this ball, and then she doesn't swing, Johnson doesn't swing her foot, so she takes this ball in the body. When you get a ball that you're not able to get out in front, right? You're not going to get every ball and be able to keep it in front of you. Nobody is that fast. Making contact, let's say with the ball here, I'm going to choose red, arm out, paddle down. That's going to keep the ball low. That's getting the ball out in front. When you let the ball get into your body or behind your body, anywhere in this range, you need to swing this foot back like a door, give time and space. That's what's going to help you keep it low. And we will show that at other times. That's what creates this pop-up, because Leigh Waters' pace on the ball has her short hop this. See the short hop? And all the energy in a short hop is going up, okay? And so I know it's not a very good arrow on this ball, but let's just watch this. Like, it is going, you can see it right there, just, and so all you're hoping with is that it lands short enough, because all the height has gone up too high. And that's the big thing on that. So that's where the error comes in. Leigh Waters sees the error, and just, watch this. So Leigh Waters has to get her feet out of the kitchen. She resets her feet, sees the short hop, and immediately is ready to take it out of the air. That's the big thing. Your opponent is even going to watch if you're short hopping a ball. your opponent knows, hey, this ball is going to go up. I should be ready. I'm going to try and attack this. And then it's just off to the races. Okay, great point there. Waters' turn to serve. Here we go. Okay. Not a long point here. And this is the thing I was talking about for Leigh Waters is many times in the past, she would not miss this shot. So we're getting to see things break down and errors occur because she's just coming back. So Johnson hits a nice ball. It's probably deeper than than Leigh Waters expected. And so her feet get stuck here a little bit. And if she was analyzing this footage as well, she'd be like, yeah, I should have moved my feet, got better footwork into it, and chose to, if I was going to drive this ball, I got to first have success with my feet. Then I can drive the ball. And so she doesn't meet it out in front, gets caught into her body, and the ball is too low. She isn't able to get it up high enough. And so just a quick thing that we'll do, even though this camera angle is not the best, you can see how tight she is here trying to rotate and how far back that ball is. When we see her do a drive later on in this match, you'll see that she catches the ball much more out here, which one is going to put more pace on the ball, but two, more spin and is going to have a better trajectory coming off. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Oh, went for the drive, paid the price. Okay, let's go on back and watch this one. First thing I want to point out in this one, because we just talked about it in another point, is I want you to see the difference in court position between the Waters. So Leigh Waters is forward, Leigh Waters is back, and they assume that they're going to try and get the ball to Leigh Waters. They're assuming that. That's one of the reasons why they're stacked like this. So when Leigh Waters goes and gets this ball, it's a little late. I would like her to be moving earlier. Okay, she doesn't start moving now. She's really watching. That ball's already going. But watch this. Once she does move, she moves late. She's taking ground. She takes that ground and stops. So Leigh is one zone ahead of her mother, and she's at zone 2, as we like to call it, and her mom's at zone 1. Now, her mom got pushed way off, and she was a little late there, but still, they got to the positions, which was important. They could have been there easier and not had to run so much. So now they go for a fifth, and Leigh Waters takes a step and takes a little bit of ground and is ready, goes back, and then she goes forward again. Look at that. She just took right these two hops. Once again, just so you guys know, this is what we're looking at here. Watch her feet. She goes one for about at least 2 feet there, and then 2 for another foot. So she easily took 3 feet. But once again, she is closer to the net than her mother. Her mother's the one hitting. She's the one putting pressure on, saying, okay, if you're going to come over here, you're going to pay the price, and you better keep the ball down. Now, this was just a mistake in a decision. Bounce speed up. We've done videos in the past of counting bounce speed ups and how often you lose a bounce speed up. And this would be one that works against them because Leigh Waters has run around the ball, opened up this huge hole, and then decided to speed up. This is a normal mistake she wouldn't make. She would normally have much more patience and not be testing this ball. And I think that's one of the things, her coming back in this first game, she doesn't have as much patience. She's getting used to, okay, now it's going to be best of 5. We're not going to rush through this. But she's testing out the opponent, like, hey, what do you guys have? But this is obviously this make. The big thing to take away here, you have chosen to run around to your forehand, okay? I know we don't have the overhead view, but as we can see, she's literally off the court. There is a fire engine size truck lane right here. So if you're analyzing this, are you in an offensive, neutral, or defensive position because of your court position? The Waters are at least in a -1. I would say a -2 at best, because neither one of them are up to the kitchen, right? Both of your opponents are very close to the kitchen line, if not right on it. And you haven't gotten there yet. And so, but the bigger thing is you're now out of position here. And so you're technically in a defensive position. Now you chose to run around the ball. So as we've talked about, you should be looking to hit here. Once again, if you choose to run around the ball and go for your forehand, you should be running around the ball to your forehand to hit a defensive or neutral shot to get your court position better. And if, once again, a neutral shot could have been taking, a decently aggressive topspin ball going to the backhand of black, something like this. Could have gone nice topspin to the middle here and closed off the angles and brought her teammate more into play. There's a lot of options to do there that don't have to be 100% defensive. And maybe that's the thing. You're running around it so that you go from a defensive shot to a neutral shot. But to go for this offensive attack, it's just becomes so obvious when you slow it down here of why that doesn't work out. Okay, let's move on. Let's watch this point all the way through. We're seeing a pattern here. Well, if I'd played the first 5 hits to 10 hits of this, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between this and the last time that Johnson served, but let's slow this up. So once again, the Waters have not broken from their strategy of going to black. Black is giving them what they want of hitting a third shot drive every time. I will say, as I said, I believe it changed quickly. Johnson gets in front of black. Okay, so let's see why they were able to get to the net. Okay, that's like a lob drop. Definitely sails long. Gets smashed again. Johnson goes all the way back to join her teammate. And then gets a decent enough drop right there for them to fight and continue up. So let's just back this up. Okay. The overhead lob at least got Leigh Waters back and falling back so that the next ball, which this is not an easy shot to take an overhead into a drive, that's what kept her back, and they get this short counterattack ball right there, okay? Which gives them enough time to then do this drop. Here's why they made it to the kitchen line. Watch black. So you do got to get a ball where you can hit a decent drop at it, but look at black go. I'm going to actually, instead of doing circles, I'm going to mark. I know the camera keeps moving on us. I'm just going to mark where her feet were when the ball is coming over. And the ball crossing the line. Look at she automatically, when the ball crosses the plane of the net, she stops and gets low. We talk about that all the time. But look how much space and even turning her body she made right there. Like, that is a significant distance in the sport of pickleball, right? I would say that's probably 9 from back foot to back foot, probably 9 feet, maybe more. And that put enough pressure from this drop to not allow Leigh Waters to hardcore attack. She's like, okay, yep, doesn't get a lot of pace on that. She hits it, but once again, get it into a reset. And she was boxed off of, okay, I got to go back to Johnson, which therefore the ball had to travel further, and Johnson has more time. Johnson hits a good reset, and everything's getting more and more easy for them to work themselves up and get into a neutral position. I mean, look at this. Black hits a great shot here, and they are literally now in a +1 to +2 advantage. They're at sorry, they're at the kitchen line, essentially, staggered, but there. And look how far back Leigh Waters is. And so that's how things can change very quickly. But they changed because, one, your teammate did have to hit a good shot, but black was a good teammate and got up there and put pressure on. If in this ball right here, if black had stayed back, and stayed back was once again, we were watching it with Johnson, stayed back behind Johnson, so she would be all the way back here if she was behind Johnson. And then Johnson hits this ball, well, then Leigh Waters could hit it much harder and be much more aggressive going cross court, which would have been harder. And then once again, black would still be back here, and this soft cut shot that Leigh Waters does here, where she has to keep it low and short to not have it get attacked, would have been completely different. And that's really what changed. That was the court position. And so you get to the kitchen line, hey, you're going to miss balls, you're going to make mistakes. Everybody misses a ball. This is just an error. There's a couple things I don't really like about the technique and the decision making on this shot, and the posture. But guess what? If you get to the kitchen line, you're going to win more points. And Johnson and Black had set themselves up and done the right things to get there and give themselves an opportunity. Sometimes you're able to execute on the opportunity, sometimes you're not. Okay, let's watch the next point. Ooh, that was a good point. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Okay, once again, they have 100% gone after black, but this ball is shorter than most, so Leigh Waters is a little bit late getting there, but with it being a drop, she still even volleys it. This is the one thing I want you guys to notice. Something you're not going to get to see in much future footage if Leigh Waters keeps coming back and playing at the pro level is this. That is too friendly in the modern age. I still like the shot, but you will see her be much more aggressive with a ball that's high, either by letting it bounce and attacking it or by how much spin she puts on that shot. That's what you'll see change, and that's one of the things that is just she's not back to her standard form of, doing exactly what she wants to do with the ball. So anyways, let's just back this up. Serve, return. So once again, okay, sorry about this. Just want to make this clear again. So Johnson looks like she's going to move forward, but there once again now a wall. And you're like, well, how did that happen? Johnson did move up. Okay. Let's look at when does she start to move up. Okay. Here's the serve. Here's the return. At that point, look at black's footwork. Okay. Right here. See that left foot go out? I'll erase this so you can see it. Okay. I'm going to do it again. That left foot goes out. Right there, black knows she's going to hit this ball. Okay. And that's what we talk about a lot of times. You and your teammate will know who is hitting the ball when the ball is coming back in this zone. When the ball is traveling through this zone, going towards you, this is how far away the ball is when you know, hey, am I going to hit it or not 90% of the time? In that regard, once black's foot starts to move this way, Johnson's foot should start moving this way. Okay? So let's now go a couple more frames forward. So at this point, black has done 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, 4 step hit the ball. Okay? At that, so she took 4 steps. That means Johnson could have taken 4 steps forward here and already have stopped and been ready, but Johnson doesn't need to stop yet. Johnson needs to stop now with the ball crossing the plane of the net. And so let's go back as I was watching that. And let's see Johnson's footwork. Okay. Right here, that's 1. Johnson doesn't take a step. That's 2. Johnson takes her first step, second step, third step, fourth, fifth, and never really does a good split step. And so that is how Black is catching up, and they're unfortunately in a wall position because Johnson is moving forward late and slow on all of these, and therefore not putting enough pressure on this drop. Okay. I'm not saying to charge the net. Okay. But if Johnson was already here by the point of impact, which she could have been, let's say she's at midcourt. Okay. And then she sees this is a good drop. That is a good drop by her teammate. It's technically a drip. It's not even a drop. And we can get into the differences and why. But just trust me on this one. That is a drip. And so her teammates had a good drip, and it's coming down. It's not going to get hard attacked. And the opponent is going to have to lift the ball back up over the net. And when you see that, that's when Johnson, if already here, knows to pounce forward. And Leigh Waters does this so well. We will see that occur at a future point. And just all of a sudden, they just crush that on the other team. This next ball, I'm not saying Johnson has to take. I'm saying she could have. That ball right there, she could have been moving in, backhand, crushing it into them like this if she was at the court position we want her to be. And so once again, Johnson very disengaged and making Black do all the work. And this is another good example. So she goes down low, hits the ball. Unfortunately, I don't know if she could have even gotten back up based off of that to get to where she wants to be. But with the ball traveling here, this is where we talk about hit and improve. She's falling back. If the ball, it lands, I'm just going to do here, over. Obviously, Johnson has to guard this line. Okay? So what we want to do is we want to be the blocker, and we would want to be here blocking this, and we would want our partner Black to be essentially where she's at with that 1 foot and be like this and really cut off that angle. The reason why this doesn't occur, and this is what I'm trying to show you, Black does a great job getting that ball. That is great. Johnson's feet are not moving, and she's just watching. I'm just going to leave that there. Ball gets hit again. She hits it again. Johnson's feet have not moved. And that's the thing. They have not moved. She's not at the kitchen. If she was at the kitchen line and being in the right place with the ball going back and forth in the middle, I would not have a problem with her feet not moving. I have a problem with her feet not moving when she's somewhere between 5 to 6 feet off the kitchen line, and then that is what is leaving your feet exposed. The entire reason she has to hit this ball this low and her feet are that exposed is because she is way back here. Let's look at this ball, where it came from. Sorry, I went the wrong way on that. Let's back this up. This ball is there at the kitchen line. So if Johnson was where she wanted to be or should be, she's hitting a mid-height backhand drive off this ball. It's going straight. She's getting in a firefight, and she's probably in the advantage at this moment on hitting that ball because Leigh Waters didn't hit that one. You see it hits right off the tip of her paddle. It's hardly coming. And so they're just, by their court position, they're letting their opponent make errors and not get punished by them. And because of that, the Waters take that point. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. Good point there. Let's back this up. Take a look at it. Okay, real quick here, just once again, because we're kind of having a story regarding court position in this game. I didn't think we were going to have as much of it as blaringly obvious, but here's one of a textbook example of you should be moving forward when the ball is on your side and traveling. So we're just going to watch this kind of arc. So watch Leigh Waters as she takes ground, watching the ball. Like, when the ball is here, they can't do anything, right? So take that ground and then stop and get ready. She's stopping and getting ready as it's crossing the net. She split steps over, gets her foot beautifully on the other side of this line to cut off court position and put pressure on Black, who does a good job. But once again, this is a very neutral shot. And so you got to remember, the Waters are having to work their way up. And if they're going to get to hit fifths literally at the kitchen hitting dinks, that's the game plan they want. I would actually like, and this is one of the things we talked about, I would have liked a little more ground taken by Leigh Waters. But once again, first tournament back, I think in the future she would be more aggressive, knowing that her daughter is easily going to get this ball and keep it low. And she kind of stops here where she doesn't have to. Once again, the ball is now crossing the plane of the net. She definitely could have gotten another step or two to also add pressure onto Black regarding that ball. And so that's like this. I like this. Is it like this decision by Black to put pressure on this ball? I like that decision. Once again, it's a yellow ball, almost a red ball, which is beautiful technique, puts the pressure on. And the reason she's able to do that is because Leigh Waters is so far back. I don't believe that Black would have chosen to hit it like this if she didn't see all this space here. And that's what we've been talking about. And that story of wrong court position and losing the point is really time and time again in this first game really showing the issue. Like, if you wanted to sit here, like, let's back this point up. And I love doing this on a lot of points where I go, okay, where was the mistake? And in men's doubles, you'll see that and be like, okay, was this shot too aggressive? Did this shot float a little bit? This ball is a little high, okay? Leigh Waters goes back, gets it behind her, and it sails a little bit so that Black can hit this shot. But the actual mistake is when your teammate's going this way, Leigh Waters becomes the blocker and needs to be up here being a good teammate blocker, because your teammate over here is the workhorse, and you need to cut off that line. And the other part, I'm just going to make this very clear, she hits the ball here. Let's just move forward a little bit right there. And so it's right in the middle. This is not where you want to be. This is not normally going to end up in success. Even if Leigh Waters had gotten this ball over, they're at a massive disadvantage. Even if she got that back, of most likely going to lose a firefight being that far off the kitchen. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Oh, that was a good point. Okay, so Leigh Waters serving definitely doesn't have the modern pace on it of what's occurred over the last 2 years, but it's still a good serve. And this ball is hit just way too softly to be choosing the drive and floating high. And from there, really tough on them, because Black is able to just put a great kind of cut on it, counterattack. I would have liked to. I think this actually caught Leigh Waters off guard, because she's so far back and she's also this way. she knows that they're interested in attacking black. So you can see from her foot, she's intending to close off this way. They have communicated that. She's not surprised that the ball went to black in any regard. I think she thought it was going to be a drop, and then that's where things go down. So the one part of this that I'm going to leave you guys with is there's a fellow YouTuber who talks about respecting the X. There's some things that I think are very good about that. And in this scenario, if you are the person coming up and you have somebody back and you're at the 2 and they're at the 1, when the ball is skipping, I'm going to change colors there. When the ball's coming here, and once again, it doesn't hit anywhere near this line, and Leigh Waters gives up her court position and moves this. She actually moves back and over here. So what occurs is then both people are basically here, and there's all this space over here. And then she also feels it that there's all this space over here. So the court position has really gone bad, and the camera angle here is almost impossible to do this. But what you want to do is essentially respect the X. So if a ball is coming this direction, and more the norm, and then the ball going this direction, if you're the front person, so I'm just going to draw one of these. I'm going to use this as an example. We're going to do, let's say that actually Johnson hit this ball. We'll do yellow for the ball. So let's just say it actually had a little bit more of an angle on it. Well, even if Leigh Waters was here in good court position and she could reach really far out and maybe get that ball, more often than not, you want to let that ball actually skip. It's slowing down your teammate behind you. The ball's traveling along the X line. Give that ball to your partner. And the reason I bring that up is this isn't the most textbook example, and the angle's not that good, but black does hit a cut shot that is going right to Leigh Waters' backhand. And instead of Leigh having to fall back like this, give up complete court position, and then see how she's just running to the right, and then it's just a wide open shot in the middle. If she had just said, okay, I'm just going to let that ball go by me, Leigh Waters, stable, already in a strong position, could have hit a better drop shot. And so that's the thing, is respecting the X is really trusting the X, trusting your in those situations. If the ball is traveling low, let the ball go by you to your partner if you are in the forward position. When you're in the forward position, and the reason I bring this up, and we'll see it in other points, your job is almost, you want them to put pressure on them, and when they hit it to you, you're really looking for volleys, or if they hit, shots over to your side. And so you have that partner behind you so that if it's low, fast, and skipping because they didn't hit a great earlier shot, just let it go back to them, buy time, and let them hit another better drop shot or whatever they're going to do on the attack. Okay, that was a good quick point. Moving back over, I think Johnson's serving. Yep, let's watch this one through. Ooh. And so this is what I talked about. Leigh Waters' first championship back, first tournament back of almost 2 years, and just going to be making some errors that are not common. And that, even the form of the technique, I mean, she sees it, that she's like, oh, I'm going to just annihilate this ball. She's hit tens of thousands of those over time. Sorry about that, guys. My controller just got a little off there. Here we go. She just makes an unforced error. So let's not spend too much time on that one, and let's move on forward. But I do see, at least in this first game, that I think Johnson and Black are going to start seeing that, and they are going to start really trying to target Leigh Waters. And that's exactly what happened here on this next point. Let's take a look at it again. So at this point, I don't know exactly how many points have been played, but quite a few. And every return has gone to black. Johnson needs to realize this. Look, once again, she does not move forward at all by the time the ball is impacting this. And so in this range, this entire time that you see the ball coming, all that is when she could be taking free ground and putting more pressures on Leigh Waters for this. That is a good drive. Cross court, Leigh Waters doesn't make it all the way to the kitchen line, catches the ball low, and hits a neutral volley back. That's one of the best ones that they've had in this game so far. Once again, getting very little benefit for such a good shot because Johnson is staying back and not doing anything, putting no pressure to make Leigh Waters make some mistakes. So then we do kind of a drippy drop right there, kind of a in-between. And once again, no pressure. Leigh Waters just flicks the ball on back, and then black feels the need to try and attack, and we don't. When you're in a defensive position, and once again, I'm just going to reiterate, what is a defensive position? The easiest thing about pickleball, unlike other sports, is it's based on your core position. They're at the Waters are up here at the net. They clearly have a +2 advantage. You are not at the net. Neither teammate is at the net. You are in a defensive position, and therefore you should only be hitting neutral or defensive shots to get to neutral. Right here, black tried to go from defense. We have neutral, and we have offense, right? And she tried to skip right over neutral and go right to offense, and that normally doesn't work out. Even if this ball had gone over, what was most likely? It was just going to come back real fast off of a counterattack from both of them. But right now, black is probably getting frustrated of the number of shots to try and work their way up to the net, and she's not able to get herself and Johnson up there. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. This is a great point. Not a great camera angle, but a great point. That was a little brutal with the ref just coming into the middle of it. Okay, let's go all the way back. So you can very clearly see why the Waters are choosing to go after black. They'd much rather have these high thirds that they're able to just hit down on. And, I mean, look at the beautiful hand and skill of Johnson. I mean, her drops are fantastic. That's not an easy ball to drop that good. That is just an impressive shot. Look at just pushes Leigh Waters back. And one thing I'm just going to point out, one thing that Leigh does and why she's the best in the world, even her mother, her foot gets locked in here, and she doesn't swing it back like a door like Leigh does. And so that's why she gets pushed back. She literally goes back 6 feet before she regains composure, back again. And Johnson and black have the clear advantage here. And so Johnson tries to takes it out of the air and try and keep that pressure on, trying to keep pushing them back. And now we get into a nice little dink battle here. I just want to see this. So the one thing that's really good here, Leigh floats this ball. So this is a great attackable ball. I'm fine with everything about this. And the thing that's actually really good about it is the fact that Johnson attacked straight on. And that's what you want to do. When you get a cross-court dink that floats, you want to attack straight on because the ball stays in front of you and you are at the advantage. Leigh Waters didn't have as much time. The only reason I think she got this ball back is because she was off the line a little bit. Let's just back this up again and see. Leigh Waters is not coming up and blocking as aggressively as in the past when they're dinking. Normally when you see this cross-court shot, and if you watch Leigh Waters and Ben Johns, they would move up and be right on this line, ready for the speed up, be ready for a counterattack and removing their feet from being able to be attacked. So she gets it back, and I think Johnson a lot of times would hit this next one in. It is a little surprising that she missed that two-hander, but sometimes you get lucky in a point. So that's probably the best point that we've seen in this first match. Fully developed, lots of good there, and sometimes you don't get the win. Here we go. We're just going to watch this point all the way through. This match is clearly starting to settle down a little bit. They're getting into the dinking, getting more into drops. Here we go. They've realized that, okay, everyone's tested everybody, and we can't just bang our way through them. So once again, tough court position right here. We've seen this before by Leigh Waters coming all the way around that forehand. But right there, much more neutral shot than she did 5, 6, 7 points ago, where she's keeping it low, not overly attacking, and definitely not driving this ball. So choosing to say, okay, I'm running around it, and I'm now in a defensive spot. I'm going to hit a defensive or neutral shot. I would call that a neutral shot. And now, it just makes that error there. Man, she was lining that up really good. So let's talk about, Colin Johns has talked about this. Other pros have talked about this. In dinking, you kind of have ones and twos, okay? And you always want the point to add up to 3 anytime you and your opponent are dinking. And so I'm not going to count that drop shot, but here we go. So we're going to call that a little bit more of an aggressive, neutral dink with some topspin. So that's a 2. And so if you are black right here, you want to hit a 1, which is a neutral or defensive dink. And so she just gives this ball right back, very neutral defensive. And so the shot here that Leigh Waters should hit should be an offensive dink, and she puts a little slice on that ball, trying to get a little bit more on it. And then black once again returns. So this backhand slice by Leigh Waters is considered a 2. And then black does a 1 to add up to 3. Once again, very neutral dink, looking for her opening. And right here, this is where things change and the mistake happens. So Leigh Waters is like, oh man, I'm just going to get to keep hitting aggressive dinks. She's not doing anything with it. And that ball floats. And so now black just changed up the pattern right here, and she hits an offensive dink, which Leigh wasn't able to get over to. So this is a 2, and so Leigh Waters should hit a 1 here and should most likely soft and come back to the middle right there, and takes too big of a cut at it, and then that's where the error happens, because her paddle loads extra up and back, which requires her, like we talked about, once you load, you got now a hammer, which means she has to accelerate, and she knows in her brain she doesn't want to. She wants to hit a defensive or neutral, but she's got to get the paddle there. So the paddle accelerates right there, mishit, and that's where the error occurs. And so just a good teachable moment for anybody who hasn't heard that before, so that you have a better understanding of what you're doing when dinking. We're going to watch this point all the way through. Wow. Impressive point. Leigh deciding to put people on tilt. Let's go all the way back. Here we go. So right here, I'm going to back that up. As you guys are seeing now, a lot of the serve returns are going to Leigh Waters, and they're saying we are going to let Leigh come up, but we're going to attack Leigh Waters trying to wear her down. Look how much court Anna Leigh comes over to try and help out. Very good shot and gets back. Beautiful court movement and gets back to put pressure on that ball. Fires this one. You can just see the difference in pace between when Anna is hitting it compared to Leigh Waters. And then she just says, okay, I'm going to test you again. Obviously, risky shot here. But I feel that in this match, Anna Leigh feels like normally this would not be the recommended shot. And I think in even this point, you'll see that what Anna feels is anytime she's getting a ball, because they're now targeting her mother, she's got to not allow them to just do whatever they want with it. And that's why she's taking this. This is definitely a defensive shot, hits a drive and gets away with it. That's a very high-level skill shot. People like even Anna Bright, those kind of things, when they do this, they miss a lot of these. That ball, I think it would have even gone in, given the angle that she had on it. So very small percentage shot right here. And shows why she's the best in the world. But what in these scenarios, one of the reasons we watch this film is also, if you don't have that shot and you haven't gone and drilled this shot a ton, when you get on your back foot, when you're up in the kitchen, you're dinking, you're falling back, do not fire this ball. That is normally going to not work out for you. You're normally going to go in the net or go long. And so it works out for Anna Leigh Waters in this time, but this is definitely more of a learning opportunity of what not to do in your game unless you've massively worked on this. This ball right here, you want to take as a defensive or neutral dink, get back, good court position, and then carry on the point. Okay, let's move on. Leigh Waters serving, and we're going to watch this one all the way through. Ooh. Anna Leigh kind of left her mother out to dry on that one. Let's go back and take a look at this again. So Black is trying to get the ball to go cross court to Leigh Waters. They decide to change it up. Anna takes that ball and kind of gets right off the bat bad court position. So this conversation is had all the time. And once again, we don't have the standard back camera, which I would prefer, but we will do it here anyway. So on this, the middle ball is coming right here. And once again, for the ball to travel from here over, even if it bounces here, I'm going to do it right here, the ball trajectory is still going towards Leigh Waters. And if you watch Ben John and Anna Leigh Waters when they play together, a lot of times when we have that exact trajectory ball, because the ball is traveling technically this way, it's going on an angle that way, it's going into the person on the right-hand side, it's going to go to their backhand. You let them hit the backhand drop, and you take ground. The big reason to do that is because it keeps your court position. The reason the Waters lose this point is Anna comes this direction, and unless you hit an unbelievably good drop shot or an unbelievably good drive when you're already stepping off balance and doing it, we now have one person here. Once again, like I said, I'll move this forward a little bit. Let's see exactly where she gets. She is, both feet at impact are on this side of the court. We are literally now playing skinny singles with both of our teammates over here, and they have all this to hit at. And so, once again, you hit a drive, your teammate right here was thinking maybe they're going to hit the ball, so they didn't move up as far as they should to put pressure on for your drive. And both Johnson and Black are sitting here going, let me erase some of this. Boop, boop, boop. They're just sitting here going, oh, dude, if we get anything, all we're doing is doing this. We're just going to make her run, and let's see what she can do. And that's exactly what they do. The ball that's not even that good of a counterattack or volley, but it doesn't have to be because you're so out of court position. So then Leigh Waters, while falling off balance, swings to get the ball back. It's just a high ball, and they do what they should do in this one is black attacks straight on, where Leigh Waters has limited time to see it. But this point breaks down because it's the standard thing that occurs for amateurs and even pros as we're watching it here. The person on the right-hand side comes over to take their forehand and gives up court position for that. And in pickleball, in my opinion, when you've watched enough points, anytime you're giving up good court position, there isn't enough of a benefit of the type of shot you are hitting. Okay, black's turn to serve. Let's watch it all the way through. Ooh, good point. This pairing of Black and Johnson, I'm sure they're going to start getting stuff more figured out. They've made it to the championship round. They are both amazing athletes. But the stark contrast of how they move on the court and their philosophy feels like they're like not in sync. Let's watch this. Once again, we know the ball is going to go to Black. She's hit every third in this entire match. Okay, so she drives it. Johnson never moves forward, never helps her teammate out, never puts any pressure on. So once again, ball just comes right back, and then she's now hitting a weird cut lob, and then a second kind of reset ball getting smashed again. Johnson's now even behind her, and then they move up. Now, here's the interesting thing. So what I just want to show you here, we're going to back this up. We're just going to watch this. So ball comes. This is the third again. Johnson doesn't move up. Johnson doesn't move up. Johnson doesn't move up. And Johnson now gets the ball all the way in the back. Okay? Now watch this. Even in this, because Black doesn't think that she's going to get this next shot from the paddle angle. You can see the paddle angle of Leigh Waters. She starts moving up. She just took 6 feet. Her partner gets the ball. She just took another 3 feet. She took another 3 feet. Look where she's at. She's 3 feet off the kitchen line all of a sudden. She hasn't done anything. But what is she doing with her body language right here? She is putting pressure on, okay, if you guys are going to hit it back, you got to hit it across from me. She's looking to poach. She is helping out the drops of her teammate, which are making those drops better because, look at this. Leigh takes it low, hits the net, and now they're both up, and they're getting into a hands battle. Now, Johnson doesn't win this hands battle. Trust me, Leigh Waters is one of the best in the world. There are times where that's not going to work out. 1 second, guys. We had a little issue on my controls. Let's find out what happened there. I'm moving it. The screen's not moving. There we go. Get back up here. Sorry about that technical glitch. That was a little strange. Anyways, it kisses off the net right there, right? And she attacks here. I'm fine with that attack. Ball sits up high. You want to put some pressure on. The difficult thing is, okay, so let's back up and say, okay, what should be occurring here? Everything Black is doing here, coming up, is correct. Okay? And everything Johnson was doing earlier where Black had to hit like 4 or 5 shots and none of it worked is the wrong. So we're seeing that. Okay? When the ball, right now, Johnson's deciding where she wants to hit it. She's obviously trying to get over here to Leigh Waters. And so that's why I'm fine with Black sitting here. Here's the issue where, on this point especially, it has the issue. The ball comes this far over, okay? And your teammate decides to attack, regardless if they decide to attack or not. You want to be able to touch your partner's paddle. You are a dance duo, and that's why the zones and all that kind of stuff. So black needs to see this and realize the ball's over here. I need to be further this way, because wherever Johnson hits the ball, whether it's here, from this angle, the counter is most likely going to come back down the middle. This is the triangle effect of that. And so when your teammate is pushed off here, the ball is very clearly bouncing this direction. You need to slide with them. And she kind of stays over here of like, I've got my half of the court. And so that's what's happened multiple times when Johnson is attacking. The Waters are putting the ball right back down the middle, and black isn't there with her forehand, which is what you would normally want. So let's go through this frame by frame now that I've cleaned everything up. And once again, I'm moving the time, and the image is not moving. Man, that's getting to be weird and frustrating. I'm sorry, guys. 1 second. Are we on another point? No, we're on the same point. It's technical issues today. Here we go. That's what we want to see. Right there. And then attacks that. This ball is going to come back middle. Matt Wright is one of the best at doing this. When you go line, 99% of counters are back in. And so black needs to realize that and should literally have her feet middle of this line to deal with that and be right there for it. Here we go. Sorry for the technical issues, guys. We have just experienced it again where it's just a lag, and I'm going to have to do some work, technical work on this side, and we'll pick this up on the next point. Okay. Okay, guys, jumping to the next point. Sorry about those technical issues. It appears we've now gotten them resolved, and hopefully it'll be smooth sailing from here. I think black just figured out exactly what the game plan should be in this game. Let's take a step back and let's look at this point. Nice deep serve, and she drops the third. That may be her first drop, which black has good drops. They get up to the kitchen line, and now they're going to skinny singles straight on, dink nonstop. Don't go away. And then beautiful counter when that ball wasn't moving that fast. Also sailing high. Easy put away. That is textbook how you should play this point. We're just going to go through this one more time. I'm going to get over here. Look at this. Leigh Waters is back, and she hits a nice little drop shot. Bounces in there. Look at this. Look how much farther up Johnson is to help out with this next ball. Easily hits a nice reset on it. Gets it over to who they want, and that pushes Leigh Waters back. Both Johnson and black are up at the kitchen line. I would like to see Johnson a little bit more squeezed for shots like that, but black puts it away, no problem. And so that lets them take a 2-point lead. I think they'd call a timeout, and we're back on that. Moving on to the next one. Oh, they fought hard, but this is the problem that comes in when you are getting into a hands battle and you're not at the kitchen. Very rarely are you going to win. So here we go. Once again, the Waters return to black, and she drives the ball. She goes up. This is what, in my opinion, I see too often in women's doubles. I'm just going to slow this down. Watch this. Black makes it to the kitchen line. Her partner's coming up. Zone 2, zone 3. Just going to put a 3 there, 2 there so you guys see it. And right here, she goes back. You don't want to be on a direct angle with your partner. And if this ball, like this is a good kind of dink drop shot, you can call it a reset, whatever, like all that's good. You see, everyone can see Leigh Waters winding up. Like, you know the ball's coming. What you don't want to do in those situations is move backwards because you expose your feet. And there's now so much more where the ball can drop in and get low on you. What you want to do is stay up at the kitchen line. Maybe you position yourself left or right to get, like a soccer goalie, the best angle on the ball to see it coming, and then get low. Get still and get low, because then on this, watch this. If Tori stayed right there, Black obviously, and had gotten low and been reaching out, she could have impacted the ball in front of herself. So let's just leave that mark. Let's hope the camera angle doesn't change. But she could have hit the ball approximately along this plane. Let's see how high the ball is when it gets there. Look how high that ball is right when it's coming to where that red mark is, where she could have been impacting it. She could have been hitting straight down at the ball at both Waters and done a beautiful counter and most likely won this point. Instead, they're now on the defensive and they're just taking shots and doing a great job getting the ball back, but eventually they don't. And also here, in my opinion, their paddles collide, which is what drives the ball way off. And the paddle colliding occurs when you're on the same plane. That is the number one reason why the old adage of move up together, move up like a wall is the old adage, because one, it delays your reaction time because you don't know who's getting it. Two, you can't let the ball go back to your teammate, of the classic respect the X. And then three, you are literally going to collide with each other because you could both have hit the ball, and that occurred right there. So that's the small thing. When you are the blocker, once again, let's just go over what the blocker is. The person directly in front of the ball is the blocker. And you decide who that is because you're hitting the ball over here or you're hitting the ball over here. And when the ball is in that situation, when the ball's here, the person who's right here is the blocker. When the ball is here, anywhere in this range, the person right here is the blocker. And so the blocker's job is to be up at the net and ready to take the speed ups and block the ball back. That's why it's called the blocker. And so Johnson right here makes Black the blocker when she hits the ball right over there. I mean, you can see how far over Leigh Waters is, and strange court position. If Black had stayed up with her blocker position, all she has to do is deflect the ball anywhere over here. Easy deflection, and they win the point and moving on. And so that's just the one thing, is you ought to realize your determination, if you're the blocker or the workhorse, is 100% dependent upon where you guys hit the ball. And so it's not the other team and where they're hitting the ball deciding, it's where you hit the ball. So you guys have complete control of that at any and all times. Okay, moving on to the next point. Nice job. Let's back this up. Okay, there's Johnson and Black are sticking with the game plan of going after Leigh Waters. Her drops are not quite as crisp as they have been in the past, and so they are getting to kind of keep them on the defensive. But you see here, this is the one thing I want to show you. Why is she the best in the world? Because her court position is the best. She knows that Anna Leigh Waters knows her mom is going to put the ball somewhere between this line and this direction. She's going to try and put the ball in here. And they do that as a game plan because what does it do? It allows Anna Leigh Waters to give up huge chunks of the court and push and pressure even on a drop. They're taking ground and putting more pressure on, which makes Black keep this return ball lower. And then we do it again and see how she... Just watch Anna Leigh on this. This is the 5th. She's going to once again turn and move towards the net. Ball crosses play net, and she gets low again. Gets patient. And that one is just a poor miscommunication of, once again, on this, I actually kind of like this, that she lets it go. Okay, I'm going to give it to Leigh Waters. She's going to backhand it. And it was just they didn't know where they were on the court position. And so, but that is coming clearly from an earlier point where she tried to take a ball, stepped to the right, and then got out of court position. She holds her court position and goes, okay, I'm just going to let my partner get that one, and then we'll keep moving forward. So just a little not realizing where you are on the court or where your teammate was at on the court. And this ball, the 5th, got a little further over here than the game plan of keeping it in that range, which allowed it to be more of a straight on instead of a cross angle. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Go watch this point all the way through. Real quick point, bad serve return. Moving on to the next one. Oh, there was so much good in that point. Here we go. This is one of the examples where I gave the, how can I say this? The disclaimer in the beginning where Leigh Waters, coming back on her first tournament, isn't quite up to her normal self. And so here's how we're going to see this. So nice drop shot. Anna Leigh goes for the poach. So how was Anna Leigh able to poach that? Watch this. When does she start moving forward? She is moving forward right there. That right foot's moving forward. She knows she's not going to hit it. She goes 1, 2, 3 steps before impact. Sees she's right there, slows down. See how her feet get together. And she sees that it's now going to be a good drop. And now she split steps and she closes off. She sees where the ball is and she closes off on it because she's reading that paddle. That is like the most classic shake and bake on a drop, though. And that is how you want to put pressure on your opponent and how you move up. Okay, so she switches and it's off to the races on the hits, and then this is where the problem comes in. We're going to get to it just a second. This is the drop. Okay. What we have noticed multiple times throughout this, and you have the best female that does it, is when she is not going to get the ball out in front of herself. So right here, we're going to use Leigh Waters as our example. Let's say paddle out, and she's going to try and impact the ball here. Hopefully those colors are coming through on that white. Okay. And once again, if we say this is a green light ball, this is the yellow zone. So anything in there, you're pretty much volleying and trying to, because the opponent is all the way back. They're going to volley anything in this range and then drive the ball back. Okay. And you've seen them. That's what they've been doing. Once you realize the ball that you're not going to be able to do that, and it's in this red zone, and the ball is going to bounce, you swing your, whichever side you're going to, whether it's forehand or backhand, you'd swing that leg like a door. You're going to pivot like a basketball player, plant that foot to pivot, and swing like a door. And so Leigh Waters should be swinging here like a door, because then gives yourself more time. You can see what's going on in the court. They're still back. She could have then driven the ball, hitting in neutral or maybe even offensive shot with it. But because this right foot doesn't release and go, she gets jammed, short hops it. See, and the whole reason she has to short hop it, you see how she plants that right foot instead of the right foot swinging like a door. And when you short hop, what are you doing with the energy of the ball? You're just sending the energy of the ball up. And so then she pops it up. Black immediately takes huge amounts of ground, realizing that that was going to be a good drop, and goes into the attack mode and then puts it away. And so that is the learnable opportunity that we're very rarely going to get to see from Leigh Waters, but it's that foot and her not swinging it. And I know that that will be fixed very soon if she's still coming and playing with her daughter on the PPA tour. Okay, moving on to the next one. Okay. Same game plan as they've been doing, just all returns are going to black, letting her drive the ball. There is her second drop of the game. It's in, it's beautiful, and look how they're now up at the kitchen line. And there's one thing, if black gets to watch this video, I hope she takes away that her drops are a lot better than she thinks they are, and she should be hitting those and winning points. Now let's back this up. I know I was talking during the point that we were watching all the way through. Here we go. Look at that. And I'm not a big fan of this cut technique that black does. This can get her in a lot of trouble, especially in mixed doubles, but it's working fine when she's now going cross court with Leigh Waters. So, hey, if that's working and you're seeing a deficiency in your opponent, and obviously Leigh Waters' backhand slice dink is not how as high a quality as it has been in the past. Like, she doesn't miss this easy shot in the past. And so, yeah, if you can do that and you're taking no risk, just keep putting it back there and play the game. The odds are in your favor. Take the easy points. Here we go. As you can see, once again, they are very much trying to attack Leigh Waters. Annalie's trying to do everything she can to help. And you could have already known the outcome of this point, and I'm going to show you why. Here we go. Let's back it all the way up. Okay. Johnson doesn't move forward at all. Doesn't move forward again. Is literally behind black. I don't think when they may have only won one of these when they've done this. Black hits, look, once again, we talked about this in an earlier point, but just in case you missed it, the person who's hitting the shot, the other person should never let that person make it to the kitchen line or be ahead of them. Then they are not doing their job. If you're not hitting the shot, it's not your job to watch and follow. It is your job to get in front and lead and put pressure. So right here, Johnson should have seen the quality of that shot and moved forward. She's literally behind black. But here, so then black, once again, black takes ground. Black trusts and sees that shot. She just took another 3 to 6 feet. Yeah, easily 6 feet right there. And then another good shot. And then they're into a dink battle. Now, it is neutral. They're both essentially at the kitchen line. They're moving and dinking. Leigh attacks cross court. Normally is not advised, but she obviously trusts that her daughter has very fast hands, and she magically gets that ball back. Here is the mistake right here. See this jump back? by both of them. They both go back. I'm sorry, I should have pointed out. Black and Johnson jump back. They both split step backwards, which is attack, giving their feet more exposed. And it allow every one of these shots after that, the Waters are essentially hitting down on the ball. So right here, that is a good counter. Anna is on the defensive, basically popping the ball up. And unfortunately, the paddle for Black is a little late. I don't think she expected it to come back, one, maybe as quick or at all. And so then she pops that ball up, but gets it back, and then they go backwards. If they had stayed forwards, even off of this hit, instead of going backwards, I believe they still would have had the upper hand and won this point. The entire reason where these 4 or 5 shots go after that, right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, it is all because Johnson and Black keep moving off the kitchen line and can't have an even firefight. Cool. Okay, great point. Let's move on to the next one. See that again? Maybe that... Oh, the reason I can't see it is because it's right in the ref's head. So, obviously called out. Let's go back and look at this again. It looks like they decide to do a switch. Okay, I'm just going to... The camera angle is so poor on this. It's probably the best backhand drop. Looks like almost like a kind of a drip by Leigh Waters of the day. That's probably the best one. Okay, here we go. Yep, that can be frustrating. So Anna Leigh in this first game is 0 for 2 when she has come across to take ground. She is fully on the right side of the court, leaving all of this open, and she's hit a drive both times, which has allowed the ball to come back quicker and to her backhand, which is then turned into her hitting offensive shots when on the defense, like this shot. That's an offensive shot when she's clearly on defense, and she's not able to be stable enough because she's on the move to hit the type of drop that she like that floats, and Black gets to volley it right at her right there. And so, once again, as we talked about previously, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but going over here for court position is not a benefit. If you're the right-sided player, you should literally look at your partner and smile anytime it's like, oh, great, you're going to hit the third. Sorry, I'm drawing this wrong. You're going to hit the third. You should be moving forward, and you should look at your partner, and you should smile and be like, look, I just got 10 feet for free, and I'm on the left-hand side. I got my forehand out. I'm ready to attack. I'm going to go crush some balls. This is great. And just let your partner hit a beautiful third shot drop. Take ground, get to the kitchen line, and go win yourself some points. Instead of just making the game so much harder and not even realizing that you're in a defensive position when you are. Okay, here we go. Next point. And there. Sometimes by being patient, you get lucky. Tori just misses. Unforced error, just hits it long. Sometimes happens. It's not a lot to go over there, but I like the patience in the drops. And then an unforced error on the serve. So 2 quick unforced errors, and we're going to move on to the next one. Okay, let's watch this one all the way through. Nice point. Okay, once again, we're still sitting at 100% of black taking the thirds. And right here, Johnson can see that she's switching to a drop. Still takes way too little ground, and Johnson is behind black and isn't able to reset both of those shots with both Leigh Waters and Leigh Waters just going after her feet, right at her feet, going right at her feet. The one thing we haven't talked much about in this, obviously in other videos, talk about all the time, the place where you are actually aiming 99% of the time, you should be just aiming at your opponent's feet. Make them make the errors. If you're aiming at your opponent's feet, you're hitting the ball in. You're not taking any risk. And that is exactly what the Waters did there, and it worked out perfectly. Okay, moving on to the next point. A little late on the comeback. Looks like just a serve return miss. Let's move on to the next one. We'll watch this one all the way through. You would think at some point Johnson would decide to move up and actually participate in this game. Black has hit 5 straight shots, several of them very good, and Johnson's putting no pressure. And then Johnson comes in and pops it up. She moves in at the wrong time. So let's watch this on the move-in. So doesn't move in, doesn't move in. We've talked about this. And look at this one. Look how far black takes on that. She literally took probably 10, 12 feet right there, going from behind the baseline all the way up. And Johnson's still sitting back, tailing. Hits. This is a good shot. She has great skill, floats a little bit, and then pops that one up, and you're done. So there's not a lot more that black could have done in this situation. And I truly believe that they would have had a much higher probability of winning this point if back here when black is driving and dripping right there. Drip, drive, drive, drip. If Johnson had put any pressure on Leigh Waters, it would have gone to their benefit. Very hard to win points if your teammate's not going to make your shots better. That's what you do when you are the person not hitting the ball. You putting that pressure on is making your teammates' shots better, and that's what you need to do. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Black and Johnson got very tentative on that, but it actually worked out. Let's back it all the way up and take a closer look at this one. Leigh to serve. They're going still to Leigh Waters. They'd rather take her drops than Leigh Waters drops or drives. And Anna's putting pressure on. She's looking to poach any chance she gets. She's looking to say, okay, I want to hit the ball. And Leigh Waters is just slowly getting herself up to that kitchen link. And then she does this drive attack, which she's now done multiple times. And one of the number one issues right now for the Black Johnson team is Johnson is not up here ready to counterattack this ball. She's too far off the kitchen line, which allows this ball, which one, she doesn't even hit the ball, which she could have if she was up there, and allows Leigh Waters to get away with one there. And once again, watch this. Let's just do it right here. So I'm going to mark, the camera doesn't move much, so I'm going to mark Johnson's feet right there. Now we're going to move forward. She didn't hit the ball. She doesn't hit the ball. Look how far back she moved. Like, once again, the ball is continuously being hit over here. She is the blocker. Black right now is the workhorse. So just to help people remember what that means, if the ball is over here, once again, your team, whoever hits it, it doesn't matter who decides, whoever hits it over there, you guys have then turned this person into the blocker. They need to be up here and blocking. This is basically all the area that they're going to get, right? Anything that comes in that range, their job to get. That literally means, I draw it like this, everything over here. This is all Black's responsibility. If a ball gets lobbed up high back here, that is Black. If a ball gets lobbed up back here, that's hers. Cross court dinks, anything in this range, speed ups over here, all that. Like, the blocker's job is just this red right here. That's all she's got to worry about. And yet she's backing up, which is what has been killing them, where they could have easily walked away with this game in the early stages on this. And they luckily get a miss hit off of a good aggressive volley from Leigh Waters. The hit was hit by Black, obviously. I'm saying the error was by that. I'm just looking at this one more time. This has been catching Leigh Waters off guard a lot. Like, she's here, the ball's low with backspin. She gets this one, and the one thing I want to show you guys, this is classic form of Leigh Waters. We talked about her earlier when she was on the right-hand side. She's now on the left-hand side. Watch how this left leg swings back like a door for her to be able to get this ball. Watch how she throws that leg back, gets real wide on it, and is able to get this ball back. Once again, it's a defensive shot. They didn't win the point, but it wasn't the shots that you saw where she's literally not able to hit it or directly popping it up. This ball is not a pop-up. It's a nice soft little ball over. Floats a little too far, but that is the proper technique. When the ball and your opponent hits a ball where you're on the defensive, you should hit a defensive shot, and that is beautiful effort on your opponent. Hit a good shot, and using proper technique. You'll see at the lower levels, we're obviously watching championship game, where people would keep their feet here and they'll reach out real low and volley this ball, and that is not what you want to do. This is exactly correct. Watching Leigh Waters throw that foot back, keep that ball with you. It's bouncing, it's slowing down, and then hitting it back. That was fantastic, even though they didn't win the point in the end. Okay, moving on to the next one. Okay, let's back that up. Kind of a high drive. I'm not even sure what. I don't know what Leigh is doing there. Maybe she stepped weird. It was a very weird point. Let's just move on to the next one. There we go. Finally. Knew it was going to come for Johnson eventually. Okay. So they once again go to Black. She drives. Johnson doesn't move up. Johnson this time sees that she's going to drop or drip the ball and takes ground and puts pressure. Now, this is the one thing I want. This is a really good learning opportunity right here, because we just talked about in the last point of when you can't get the ball in the yellow or green zone to volley it, throw that foot back. Look at this. First foot to move is the left foot by Leigh Waters, and then she takes another kind of hop to really keep this ball in front of her. And what that allows her to do, even though they're moving up, she can attack. So she attacks and gets a pop-up, which is exactly what you want. So whether you win the point or not, you're trying to give yourself the opportunities to win the point. And so what occurred here is Leigh Waters forces a pop-up. At this moment in time, right here, the statistical odds are the Waters are going to win this point. Okay? They didn't win it on this one, but what you're trying to do is give yourself the best odds. And the only way, so we're going to, once again, because they're in, the Waters are in a +2 advantage right here. They're back. Both of them are up. They have a +2 advantage. So even though this ball comes in and lands right there, if Leigh Waters had taken a very low volley on this, the ball would have to go, would basically be going straight up and soft and tentative, and that'd be a defensive shot. They're in an offensive position. We still want to hit offensive shots, and Leigh Waters right there hits an offensive shot, and the way she's able to do that is by swinging this leg back, taking that ground, letting it bounce, letting the ball slow down, and then hitting a nice offensive shot. And by doing that, she literally gets a pop-up. And more often than not, you keep getting Leigh Waters, her teammate, pop-ups like this. She's just going to put them away. Okay, now they're into a firefight, and they keep backing up and miss it. And so this is one of the first times where you see Johnson's body moving forward in a firefight, the Waters moving back, and Johnson wins the firefight because of that. And so Johnson right here, she goes back and then she steps forward and gets more on the ball by pushing through it. Nice job. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Ooh. I'm just looking at it one more time. So one thing that Johnson did on this one, maybe they had a conversation. They're clearly not stacking the way they had, and they know that they want to be hitting drops and drives to Leigh Waters. And so maybe because Johnson's now on this side, she feels more confident, but she moved forward, which helped put, even though it's minimal at this point, help put something of pressure, but still letting your teammate go from here and have to run all the way up for this is not going to have long-term success. And then Leigh just goes for an offensive shot when it's should be a defensive. And this is what we are talking about. Where earlier she magically somehow got the ball back in and hit a good drive. The ball's behind you. You want to be resetting that ball, not driving this ball. Because even if it had gotten over, most likely would have come back real quick. And look how bad the court position is. And they would have most likely lost the point. So when these shots occur, like Leigh is doing a great job. Like, look how aggressive her foot position is. Right down the middle. Her chest is probably right above this middle line right here. And that is because she has come over because she sees that her partner, Leigh Waters, has hit the ball, is going this direction. So they are closing off on that. And, you know, this shot is possible, but this shot is not that fast of a shot, right? That ball is not being driven, it's being reset. And so when you're going to be this aggressive with your feet, you are going to have to go get slow-moving balls this direction sometimes. And you just have to remember that those are the shots that you want to hit. Defensively, you got to have your mind switch from offense. Like right now, your mind is, we're on offense. I want to hit, but then you move forward here, you got to realize that you are now
on defense, neutral at best, and you got to hit a defensive shot. She still hits it in the right. She's aiming at the right area where to put it. It's just she unfortunately swings at it instead of using more of a dink, reset, scoop technique on that ball. Okay, here we go. Okay, that was the first game point for Johnson and Black. Let's watch that one again. So we're going to slow it down once again. So Leigh Waters is really coming into her own, letting this ball bounce. Hits the drive again. Black is at least moved up to be ready for it. That's fine. We now have a hand battle, and whether the Waters have talked about it or not, or it's just subconscious, Johnson is staying too far back and therefore getting a hands battle because she's too far back and the ball hits the top of the net. If she was here, that ball is over, but she is here and that ball is in the net. So if just a side note, if you are in hand battles and you lose them all the time and you can't figure out why, maybe you need to be looking at your feet after every hands battle. Where's my foot? Like, am I too far back? And that's something that you can learn from. Okay, let's move on to the next video. I should have said next point, not next video, obviously. Sorry about that. Okay. Black serving. It's their second first game point. And Leigh Waters is uncoiling on that ball. And the same thing that has occurred almost on every point in this, except she tried to drop this, and then they go instantly on the defensive because she floated it. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Leigh to serve. Ooh. Wow. You know, you're not going to hit every ball in, but Leigh played this point about as best she could, got the pop-up, and guess what? She missed it, like we talked about. You want to get pop-ups. If you get a pop-up, do not beat yourself up if you miss the put-away ball. Obviously, if you have technique issues that you need to work on, you got to work on those. But Leigh played that point perfectly and then made an error. It's going to happen to you. It's going to happen to everybody. Nobody's perfect, but she played that point exactly how to give herself the opportunity to win that point. Okay, let's back that one up. Okay, I like Annalee's position here. I like how she just took 6 feet. Like in this, literally from the point the ball bounced to the ball in the air, she took 6 feet and then got down and low to reset that next ball. And then they need to work their way back up. She needs to get aggressive again. And so, unfortunately, where she probably Leigh should have taken a little more ground earlier to remember, hey, I got to get my feet. My feet are exposed right now. That's what should be going on in your brain, is you got to realize, hey, my feet are exposed right now. I want to get a little bit more forward to protect my feet. And then that occurs. It was a good attempt. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Nice long point. Black with some magic right there to get that ball back. Once again, let's take... Okay, we're going to black like they've gone every single time. She drives the ball. If your game plan and your opponent, you know that this is where you're going to drive the ball, what you got to realize that has been occurring in this game is Black has not gotten any benefit from Johnson on the on a shake and bake. They haven't gotten one shake and bake the entire time. Then why are you driving every third? The reason you're driving every third is to try and force a pop-up. Just sitting back here and taking all that, like, okay, Black takes the risk of hitting a drive. Like, the ball could go long, it could go on the net, it can, a lot of things can happen. It's now coming back hard and skippy. So there are pros and cons to everything. But if you're not getting any of the pros by driving, why are we driving the third? So you got to say, hey, Johnson, if you don't feel comfortable, you don't feel your hands are quick enough, you don't want to go up there and try and get shake and bakes and put pressure on, then I'm not going to hit drives. You have to talk with your teammate about that. And so once again here, they keep hitting balls back over. Some of them really good. That ball is coming back ridiculously slow and soft. And Johnson's not like that. You should see, Johnson on her side should see, hey, this is a good drop. I got to go take ground. I got to go put pressure on, instead of just being a punching bag for the other team to sit here and just keep hitting at me and see how long we can get it back. Here's another one. If you see your partner get this kind of shot back, look how nice low that is. This is beautiful. And Johnson took no ground and didn't move forward at all. Especially like right there, she should be just charging that, going, okay, I'm waiting. I'm hoping for a pop-up. Because guess what? Right there, that crossing the kitchen, that is a pop-up. Like if she was at the kitchen line, she now would have gotten to do what Leigh Waters has been doing and smash that ball down on them, and they could have put away the game and won it right there. But instead, she's all the way back and hitting their umpteenth drop or drive this point and getting no benefit for it. One thing that I always say is if you're going to hit a drop, move forward. There's no point to hit a drop if you're not moving forward with the extra time you have when it's going. Number two, there's no reason to hit a drive if your teammate isn't going to move forward and try and get the benefit of hitting a drive. Okay, let's watch this point. I'll be quiet on this one. And there is the first game taken by Johnson and Black. I know I'm watching this all the way through again. I just wanted to watch that dink battle in a little bit more real time. So I think this may be the first third shot Johnson took the entire first game and hits a beautiful drop, and they both move all the way up on that. And so if your teammate has a great backhand drop, this is the one thing. And you're like, let's say very clearly they're targeting Black and they're putting everything over here. Then let your teammate cover a little bit further over on the drops, and you take ground. Sorry, I'll erase this one. And you take ground moving forward. If you watch Ben Johns, basically a lot of the time if the ball is here or this way, he lets his teammate take the ball and drop it because he's getting free ground to get up here to the kitchen line to go attack and win points. You're not trying to win on the third shot drop. You're trying to take ground. So then let your teammate hit that and take the ground. Now, if you're playing with somebody and your forehand is literally exponentially better, 10 times better than their backhand drop, they have no backhand, well, then obviously you can't do that. But we are talking about people, this level course is for advanced players that have, the majority of shots in their bag and are able to hit them. And same with their partners that they are able to hit shots. So a backhand drop should not be exponentially better than a forehand drop. They should be close. Maybe you feel a little bit more comfortable. Maybe you hit, 5% more often or something like that, but nothing that takes away from the percentage of you getting free ground and getting your forehand closer to be able to go up to the kitchen and fight. That's what we are talking about. And this really just feels like almost an unforced error again by Leigh Waters. In this dink battle, we've had about 3 of them. And yeah, she just goes for the speed up here, catches the top of the net, and they lose the first game. That's where we're going to conclude this video because I really felt this game had the benefit of showing errors and mistakes that aren't common, especially in the early part by Leigh Waters, and then her changing that and using beautiful technique for the rest of it. And just so that you guys know, the Waters did come through in the end and win this, but I felt the first game really showed the most learning opportunities for both teams. But I do highly recommend that you watch this full match, which went, I believe it went 4 games. Obviously, it's best out of 5, first team to 3. And the Waters, even though they go down here in the second, come roaring back and then basically never took the gas pedal off. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Hope you learned a lot, and we'll catch you on the next one.